Happiness Wellness Talk, where together we will discover how to live well. Hi everyone, welcome to today's Happiness Wellness Talk. And today's episode we will only be on YouTube. And you can also find us at a Chinese channel for my Dr. Barbara CHEN channel for her Mandarin speaking for Mandarin speaker. And today we're gonna go over this is a specialty, and I know everyone may have heard it before, but we would like to interview my guest here, Eunice, for today's episode. Welcome, Eunice.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, so Eunice is, I have been knowing you since 2016.
I think so. Yeah. Since 2016.
Yeah. At that time, she was still in her college, and now she's master graduated. Congratulations!
Thank you.
Okay, and so for I would like to learn more about what's her specialty, and also hopefully this episode is helpful for all the undergraduates or even high school students for their career choices. Yeah. So Eunice, would you introduce yourself first?
Hi everyone, my name is Eunice CHEN. I'm a MSW graduate student. Oh gosh, I was so good at this.
Yeah,
MSW, Master of Social Work.
Yeah, Master of Social Work, and you just graduated. Yay!
Yes.
Again.
Yes. I graduated from Azusa Pacific University, and my concentration was community leadership.
Community leadership. Okay. So everyone has their image of social worker, this specific specialty, and you say you're community leadership, and what are other type in your specialty?
There are two concentrations. So the first one is clinical, and the second one is community leadership.
So there's two major types.
Yes.
And how does community leadership special about? Why did you choose that specifically, or you prefer over the clinic?
Yes. Actually, when I first got into APU, my first concentration was clinical, because I was very scared of speaking in front of people, and so for community leadership, it seems like there will be a lot of public speaking, and that's why I go for clinical at the beginning. But then,
how long were you in the program for clinical?
For a year.
For a year.
And then because I also worked for the Salvation Army at that time, and one of my responsibility at the Salvation Army is to plan events for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, for Chinese traditional holidays. So when
when you were in this field, you're already mostly interacting with people, organizing events, making projects for these events, right?
Yes. And then when I take the clinical classes, I had to learn about how to diagnose patients who has mental illness. So it's like a totally different field to me.
It's very more internal.
Yes.
Yeah. And you didn't think it matched your preference?
With my experience at the Salvation Army, I think, clinical is not for me.
So was that a challenge part while you were in the program? Is that one of the challenge, or would you consider that a challenge?
No, not really. It's not a challenge for me, but then as more I work for the Salvation Army, the more I feel like, I'm a macro person instead of a micro. That's why I talked to my director. And
they found your wow part.
Yes. Yes.
So after a year in the program, you're noticing that you don't like to stick into more like textbook and more diagnosing part. You like to really help to educating people.
Yes, and I also think it's I think like when I go to macro, I will help a group of people instead of when I go to clinic, it will be one-on-one, and it's a long-term process. You won't help the patient who has mental illness in one day. It's a long process, and that's why
it's a long-term relationship.
Yes, it is a long-term relationship, and plus I don't think I'm a people person.
That is ironic, because as a people person, you're leading people, you're communicating with group of people. But one-to-one, you probably put more responsibility and weight to yourself. It feels like, oh, I'm in charge of her life, that kind of feeling. But in really, you can only do, you can only step into certain part of her, him or her life. But let's focus on the community leadership. And at what stage you start your internship?
So when I go for my master, because my bachelor was also social work, so when I go to master degree, I was admitted to advanced standing program. Means when you have your bachelor of social work, then you don't need to do the foundation year study.
Basically, you already qualify the prerequisites for these curriculum.
Yes, and so because I was also in part-time, so it took me 2 years to finish, and I started my internship on my second year.
Second year of the master. Usually, if you didn't have the prerequisites, how long does the program take?
It's also 2 year full-time, but then you need to do internship like the whole time for the 2 year.
Oh, so you were able to part-time working while you had completed this program.
Yes, and I don't have to do internship for my first year. So
because you already have some experience into this field. And I think we're jumping back and forth. So when did you really feel like you want to be in social worker field? At what age or what event?
It was back to 2014.
2014.
Yeah, when I after I started my college, my major was accounting at the beginning, because my mom was thinking, oh, you should go to do something that can earn a lot of money. And
I think all the career has their difficulty and also their the happiness of their work, but it really depending on your passion, right?
Yes, and for Asian parents, you know, a lot of Asian parents want you to go to a field that will earn a lot of money.
And they probably think that you are more advanced at mathematics, maybe.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
but,
that's true too.
At that time, when did you really found out, like, oh, you are more people person? Yes, people person. At 2, you are more, I would say at that time you are more micro, because you are very observant. Correct? And you can notice that how people, how they react, what their emotion, how their feeling is. But now you are about to step into a leadership. At that time, is there such an event that really triggered you to become a social worker?
Yes, it's also related to my work experience at the Salvation Army.
So you started at 16 years old?
19 actually.
19.
Yeah, in 2013. Right after I graduated from college, I started to work for the Salvation Army.
Very young.
And then because we provide social service, to all the population, like children, seniors, adults, like all population. And then during Christmas, we have to have an event called Christmas Assistance, and which we will provide food and gift assistance to low-income families. And that's how I started to think, maybe accounting is not something for me, because I want to help people. And when I think back when I was young, like 6 years old, I was thinking, helping people is something good, because
you think back when you're childhood, very young, you want to help people.
Like when I really think, that brought me back to when I was like 6 years old.
It make you back into your life again.
Yes.
It's like
Yes.
she's alive again, like when helping people. And so at that time, I'm sorry. So at that time, when you found out, you in your what's the group?
The Salvation Army.
Salvation Army, right? So what at the time when you were at Salvation Army, do you notice that you are were you working on accounting?
No, I didn't have any experience in accounting.
At that time, you didn't even have chance to step into that, but you were helping the people already. And did you learn from your family or friends to know about social worker career?
No, not
Because
really.
how does that related to? How did you?
It's basically it's because of the work experience. And I actually, when I worked for the Salvation Army, I didn't know there was a major called social work.
Yeah, that's my question. So
you
did. So at that time you didn't know, and then how did you learn about it?
Because my supervisor's daughter at that time just got into the Master of Social Work program at Cal State LA. And that's how I started to know, oh, there is a major called social work.
And actually that is doing what you are doing in Salvation Army, right?
Yes, and that's how I started to talk to my counselor when I was still in community college.
Yes. Okay, let's go into a break and we'll continue on more about her experience to become a social worker master graduate. The information shared on this podcast does not replace any medical advice from your doctor. Our goal is to inspire and share our personal stories on health and wellness. Okay, welcome back to the second part of our happiness wellness talk today, and we will be only on YouTube channel today. And in the first half, we talk about how you become a social worker graduate, master graduate, and right now we want to talk about how does Eunice think about social worker before and after. So before you become a social worker, what did you think social worker would be like?
I was thinking social worker is just to help people. It's very simple. You help people, the people got help, and that's it. Yeah.
But when you start the education, which part was different from your in your perception at that time?
In social work, there is a code of ethic, which I learned about how to keep boundaries with people, and not with people, but with my clients. And also, there should not be dual relationship. That means if that person is your client, you're not dating them, okay? Yes. And
same thing to us. We are not dating our patients.
See.
Yes. No, your patient is not your boyfriend or girlfriend. Yeah.
And later when I work with clients, I realize when you establish a relationship with that person, and if you become friends with them, the relationship will become complicated, and maybe your client will have more expectation from you.
Yes.
So that's something that I learned about social work, and it's different than what I thought before.
That's a ethic part of the social worker, and it's an ethic for a lot of profession as well, because of course you don't want your family member to be your attorney. It's still very biased when it comes to ethic and professionalism. But what about the other part when it comes to studying and when you're coming into internship? Is there something different from before you step into this field?
Yes.
What was it?
It reminds me of when I do my macro internship. Because I had to learn about how to write a proposal and how to apply for grant for agency. And because my concentration was macro, it was about community leadership. So it's a little bit different because it talks about management.
Okay.
And it talks about budget.
and still come back to accounting and still
Yes.
come back to organizing everything
Yes.
to get approved, right?
Yes, and it's also a business.
Of
So
course.
it's not simple as two people and deal with one problem.
Yes,
That's-
every work is like that. Yeah,
Mhm.
and then did you feel like back then undergraduate you probably spent more time in your literature classes writing an essay, or in your management class to know more about accounting? Was that helpful when you become a social worker master degree?
No, I don't think so. But then when I got into social work, I think I had a passion
Yeah.
going towards social work.
Uh-huh.
I think that's the only difference.
That's the only difference. Oh, so then actually, let me state it correctly. It should be like, because of your passion for social worker, no matter what kind of difficulty you overcome.
Yes, yes.
See her face.
Definitely.
Definitely.
That's the
Yeah.
part. Mhm.
So what would you consider a challenge at that time? I know we talked about this in the first part, but you didn't thought it was a challenge.
I think the most challenge for me is you need to deal with people. And when you deal with people, you don't know who that is. You don't know about their background and how they will react to your question, or how they will react to the way that you handle the situation. So I think that's the most challenge part, because when I don't think I'm a people person that can deal with conflict, but I'm still
Conflict,
learning.
okay.
Yeah, conflict is a big challenge for me.
For your age, at a younger age, we definitely need to learn more in the experience to face conflict, because no one likes conflict. But when it comes to work field, of course, when there's more than one people, there's more than one opinion. So definitely there's that's why the organization management, that's a part that when you're learning as a leader, right? Become a community leadership, right? So when you're doing this, what is the most interesting internship you've been doing? Like, what's the most interesting part you love about?
I don't think my internship was interesting, but for
What kind of internship did you have?
I was in an organization that helped older adults to reduce their chronic pain by teaching them how to
Rehab?
Yes.
Exercise?
Yes.
Home care?
No, not
No.
home care. Yeah, I was providing a workshop.
Workshop on what?
And
Right? That's like, what specifically?
it's
For elders, right?
yes. Oh my gosh, I already forgot the name of the workshop.
What have you been working most about when you were trying to give the workshop for the elders? What you working?
It was about arthritis.
Arthritis.
So I was
okay.
teaching them how to do exercise. And
Did you have to look
reduce-
a lot of research?
Yes, I had to finish the training before I started to teach. Yeah, because they require us to have a license.
A license to teach? Or?
Yeah, to teach arthritis exercise class.
So there's a certificate
Yes.
for the knowledge of arthritis specifically.
Yes, specifically for arthritis.
So was that the only part you learned? You had acquired? The only
Yes, because my internship was only 9 months, and so they had another course called Matter of Balance. It's more literature, but then I didn't have that time to learn and then to teach.
So matter of balance would more be like mind and spirit, and balancing of the emotion, everything.
It's to help older adults to prevent fall.
Prevent fall. So it's more physical. It's not.
Yes.
Again, it's
Yes.
how to take care of their body.
Yes.
Okay, that's an interesting topic that we maybe discuss in a later time. But let's go into another question. And what would you say you would like to improve more in your career? at this stage, because I would consider when we just graduate, everything just started, right? Like we have a handful of tool and handful of knowledge, and it's a time for us to apply into a real world, and we wouldn't consider we're an expert yet at this point. But how would you say that you would want to improve as you move on in your career?
As I say before, my concentration was macro, but then when I started looking for a job, it's not easy to look for a macro job, especially like you mentioned before. I don't have much experience, and so when I started to work, there were things that I don't know how to handle, because some of the clients, they have mental issue, but that's something that I didn't learn before.
Or maybe you didn't notice that would be a problem when it comes to your work. Did you know they have a mental illness, or you just have to guess, or was it present to you with a file? Oh, this case has a mental illness,
yes,
and you have to.
There was diagnosed by the doctor, but then I need to know how I can provide emotional support to the participant, and how to encourage the participant or client or patient.
Yeah, and then you have to go in deep to learn more about how to speak with a mental illness person, right?
Yes, and I also need to know about their background, why they're the way they are, or why they are who they are. And social work is not about fix a person. It's about like how to empower them.
Yeah, you're like beside them to work together.
Yes.
Yeah, and you may not give out the best advice, because throughout the route they are still seeing their doctors and physicians, right?
And also, one thing that's very important is self-determination for
you,
for the client,
for the client,
participant, or the patient. It depends on what kind of organization you work with, so we use different terms.
So at that time, you mean the client's self-determination. So you're like motivating them to work with you, right? Like holding them. Let's hold our hands. Can we work on this together?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
That goes into a lot of people relationship, people experience to be expert at, and that's something we learn in life too, right?
Yes.
Through your friends and family, and then strangers.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we also need to respect their wishes or what they want to do.
Respect what they want to do, not ask them to do what you want them to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's really good. That's something to learn throughout your career, and it's a lifelong lesson too, right? Okay. And lastly, I would like to ask you, what would be what would you most grateful for at this point?
I think the most grateful part is when I see people get help, and they have the opportunity to improve their life
quality.
Their quality of life. Yes.
That's the best thing you love about this job, right?
Yes.
Is there a memorable event, like what touched your heart most throughout this time? Not just after you graduate, like since you started in Salvation Army, and is there a certain moment that you were like, oh, I'm so touched, I'm so happy, I'm doing the right thing?
I think it was also about my Master of Social Work internship, when I teach them how to reduce their chronic pain, and then we had a survey for them to fill out, and then after that I put all the survey into data, and then I did the data analysis, and then later when I find out, the work I was doing at that agency was actually helping the participant to reduce their chronic pain. So that was something that's memorable. It was a group of people. It wasn't like individual.
An impact to a group of people that they actually improve from your speech, from your workshop. Don't you think that's like very encouraging and motivating for your career?
Yes.
I'm glad that Eunice are willing to share her very unique experience with all of us. And thank you, Eunice.
You're welcome.
I'll see you next time.
Bye.
See.